Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Mile podcast. Today we are in Belfast and we are taking a stroll with a gentleman often known as the Jackal. He's a Belfast man who's sold out arenas and inspired the next generation. He's the only fighter in history to have won world titles in 2 weight classes.
From Northern Ireland.
Hey.
Not in history.
He's cemented a legacy in the sport of boxing. It's Northern Ireland's very own Carl Frampton. Welcome to the Monday Mile podcast.
How are you, Aimee?
I am so good. How are you?
I'm good. I have a bit of a stressful morning. My wife got caught speeding to start it off.
What a way to start the podcast.
Yeah, I know. Apart from that, it's okay.
You know what? I've got a confession. I may or may not have just done my speed awareness course.
Yeah. Such a boring thing, aren't they? I've done a few myself.
For the first time ever. And where are we today?
So where we are today is the Titanic quarter of Belfast. Actually, you probably don't know this, but this bit of land here is where I won my first world title. They built a purpose-built stadium, 16,000 people here. I fought a guy called Kiko Martinez and beat him literally in the middle of this tarmac.
Wow.
You didn't actually know that, did you?
I did not. I was going to say the Odyssey is literally just behind us.
So the Odyssey inside, you can get 9,000 in, and we felt we could do bigger numbers if we'd done something outdoors. So, I mean, the government and stuff were involved in helping us do this, but yeah, 16,000 stadium for one day only. It was built and dismantled, and I won the title.
Madness. When it comes to situations like that in your career, the city's putting out and putting on, does it add a pressure?
Yeah, especially getting into that fight. The guy that I was fighting, I'd already beaten him for a European title, but it was a tough fight, a really hard fight. So everybody just expected me to do the same again. He's beaten him once, it's going to be an easy fight. But he was coming into Belfast as the away fighter, but he was the champion. There was this massive expectation on me that I'm just going to win the fight. All I have to do is to show up and win. And I knew it wasn't going to be that simple. But it's a great setting. I mean, look, that was, you've got the Titanic building in the background. You've got the shipyard we're in, well, pretty much at the shipyard. I can see from the ring, it was kind of in an elevated position. Where I'm from, Taggers Bay, is kind of, can you see that tall kind of chimney over there? Yeah. That's literally Taggers Bay where I'm from. So I could see where I was born and raised in the distance. It was, for me anyway, it was very iconic.
And as a sportsman, to have the opportunity to do what you do on home turf must be so special.
Yeah. I'm very lucky, and I feel lucky and privileged that I had the support that I did. And because I did have the fan base and the support, we were able to bring champions to me rather than having to travel. And it was more lucrative for them because we were selling more tickets and you're able to pay them more. But that's probably one of my proudest achievements, the fan base that I had. And normally, it's not the small guys like me who get the big crowds, it's the heavyweights. But there's just something about the Belfast fight fans. And further afield, I mean, I was supported throughout Ireland, north and south, and the UK as well. I feel lucky and privileged and honoured to have the support that I got.
You're known as an incredibly humble and down-to-earth guy. Within the first 5 minutes of meeting you, I can definitely confirm that is true. When it comes to being in the ring, is it a split persona?
I suppose you could say that, yeah. You have to separate boxing and fighting from everyday life and everything else that's going on. And the way I looked at it was I'm fighting another man who wants to try and knock me out. And I'm not allowed to do that. I have to try and knock him out. I look at it as a business, you know what I mean? More than a sport. And I can still be friends with a guy that I'm trying to fight. But we're getting paid, helping me feed my family and help me create this bit of, I suppose, legacy for myself and for the city and everyone else that's been involved in the journey. Can't remember what you asked me next.
You're also known for having a high IQ when it comes to movement in the ring. Is that something that's learned, or do you reckon it's just naturally installed within you?
I've no idea, to be honest. I say I wasn't that fast there. I could do a wee bit of everything. Like, I wasn't brilliant at any one aspect. Like, I could do it all. I was well-rounded. I could move and I could punch reasonably hard, and I had a good job for a small guy, and my feet was good, but nothing was outstanding. But it all combined
packaged well
together,
together.
yeah, it made me a decent fighter.
Mentally, what do you reckon is the skill set required to become a top boxer?
Mentally, you have to be very tough. It's a hard game. I mean, when you're getting hit on the head and the body with 8-ounce gloves by people who can punch reasonably hard, it's not nice, and you have to have a certain amount of bottle to be able to do that and take it. And I think I had that, and I think that's just something, I don't think you're born with that necessarily, but I think a lot of it's to do with your upbringing and where you're from and environment you grew up in. I always had a bit of a chip on my shoulder when I was a kid growing up because I was so short. Maybe it created a tough guy. I don't know, but in my head...
Did you have small man syndrome?
I still probably do have a bit of it. In my head, my whole theory going into a fight was, and whether this was true or not, but I made myself believe it, I've trained harder than this guy that I'm about to fight.
Yeah.
He can't be any fitter than me, but he's definitely not harder than I am. I'm harder than this guy. And if it comes down to it and it's a dog fight, I'm winning because he's not as tough as me. And I used to just go in with that mentality, and for the majority of the times it worked.
That's something that you can't install.
Yeah.
That is hard as nails. When it comes to me competing, I think I can think of a couple of scenarios where I went in with that mentality. And in our sport, it's different in that someone's not going to knock you down, you knock yourself down, right?
Yeah.
But the fight is staying on your feet when there's weather conditions, all of those obstacles. And there's a particular day that I remember that would have been so definitive in my career, and it was one of the Olympic qualifiers. And I saw everybody else around me just drop like Skittles.
Yeah.
70 girls in the field, you need top 6 or better. And you're like, I'm not going to be one of those Skittles.
Yeah.
I am holding on to this for dear life. And it is a decision, right?
Yeah,
that mentality.
My first toughest fight, I remember I had this real, and I think it was a fight that made me. I fought Kiko Martinez, so that's the guy that I beat for the world title, but I fought him in a European title fight before it. I think it was like my 15th fight or 14th or 15th fight. And Kiko was just a renowned, tough little, shorter than me, believe it or not, but a bull and a ball of muscle.
Did that give you confidence, having the upper hand on
Well,
height for a change?
Yeah, for a change. It was a change. It's very rarely that I fight guys shorter on me, but I think it did maybe give me a little bit of confidence, but I knew it was going to be a tough fight. What we were thinking going into the fight was this is going to be a tough fight for 4 rounds, and then he's going to start to slow down.
Yeah.
And I remember going out for round 8 thinking, when's he starting to slow down? He hadn't started to slow down yet. So in my head, the whole way through was 4 rounds, just don't do anything silly, and then it'll get easy for me. Going out for round 8, it was still hard.
Wow.
Like I after that fight, back to the changing room, like I was pissing blood and stuff after it. I had 2 busted eardrums. I had bad hands. I had cuts over both eyes. So it was a hard night, and there was times in that fight where I was questioning myself, thinking like, I could jump out here, I could stay on my stool, I could take a knee. It's really, really tough, but I just fought through it. And after that moment, I just realized I made me a European champion, but I knew I could be a world champion after that.
Take me to a moment in your career. You've had many moments. You've traveled around the world. We've spoken about your fan base. They have literally followed you in the process. Is there a moment that stands out as the moment that defined you within your career?
There's a couple, but one I would pick really would be when I went to New York to fight Leo Santa Cruz. I moved up a weight division. It was my first fight in that new division. I was a massive underdog. I think 30 American scribes were asked who wins the fight, and I think 29 picked Leo Santa Cruz. But I just had this belief that I was going to beat him. And when I heard the words "and the new great Irish champion" or something like that, Jimmy Lennon Jr. announced, I mean, it was just pure ecstasy. I became a 2-weight world champion. I created history as the first Northern Irishman ever to do it. That moment for me is going to be hard to beat. And we done it as well in New York, and there was about 1,500 people traveled from here to support me, which was great.
That is mad.
It was good, but I mean, the fan base was incredible. I fought him in a rematch then in Las Vegas, and there was 5,000 people traveled. Again, talking about the fan base, absolutely incredible. But that one moment when Jimmy Lennon Jr. read out and the new great Irish champion, Carl Frampton, that's going to be hard to beat.
How have you managed to stay so humble through your successes?
It's been pretty easy, if I'm being honest. That's my character. That's the type of person that I am. Even when I was a kid, I hated anyone that was too flash.
Yeah.
Like, people loved Prince Nassim Hamid. I hated him because he was, in my eyes, he was arrogant. My opinions changed of him as I've got older, and I appreciate what he done and what a great fighter he was. But as a kid, I always wanted him to lose because I thought he was obnoxious. Even back then, I didn't like that. And coming from a city like Belfast, people would tell you straight, you know what I mean? If you're getting above your station or getting a bit too out there and too outspoken, I think they would tell you.
Belfast is a great city.
I agree. It's the best city. Well, one of the best cities in the world.
Almost caught you out there. What up?
Yeah.
You grew up in Belfast throughout the Troubles. You must have seen a lot.
Well, it was the back end of the Troubles, really. I was born in 87, and the Good Friday Agreement was signed in 98. So there was 11 years, and I suppose there was a little bit spilled over after the Good Friday Agreement as well. I lived on an interface, and I seen stuff that I probably shouldn't have seen. I wouldn't like my own kids to see now, but
Yeah.
it was just normalized to me. You know what I mean? It was like you're growing up in that environment, and everything seems normal. I know now that it wasn't normal, but 50 yards from my front door was the interface. Like, it was like the Wild West. It was mental. Like, people getting shot. I seen someone getting blew up.
Do you think that's given you a different perspective?
I think so. I wanted to stay away from all that stuff, to be honest. When I was a kid, now, for me, it was exciting, and I was always looking at it and maybe being involved a wee bit and doing silly things just as a kid. I had a lot of good influence around me, and specifically in my old amateur coach, a guy called Billy McKee, who's no longer with us, and he seen that I was talented and he didn't want me to waste the talent, and kind of took me under his wing and made sure that I was staying away from all the madness. But I think growing up in that environment has definitely helped me.
Would you say boxing pulled you away from that, from falling into that potential space of trouble?
100%.
You know, being a teen and growing up in any city, whether it's London, Manchester, Belfast.
Easily, boxing and good people around me, parents and stuff, and good influences. But boxing is a sport where kind of got a bit of a pass in terms of there wasn't really a sectarian divide in the sport. You know, whether you're Catholic or Protestant, if you were a good fighter, people would have supported you. And
That's
religion,
insane. That's the magic of sport.
I know.
Is how it brings people together.
And it does it with a lot of sports. Rugby's another great example. Football can be a bit divisive sometimes, but boxing, for me, in this country anyway, is the sport that brings people together more than any other.
I did a marathon in North Korea about 3 years ago.
In North Korea?
Yeah.
Yeah, right, lovely.
Can it get any more random than that? That was a classic example about the power of sport and how it can unite people no matter where you're from. Because, you know, how on earth would you have a conversation or could you connect with people from one of the most isolated parts of the world? Yeah. It's mad.
What was your marathon time?
Oh, that was my first marathon. It was a little bit slow. It was about 4 hours and 30 minutes.
Not bad.
My fresher time is more like 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Yeah, sub 4.
Yeah.
Good on
How
you.
about you?
I've never done one.
Right.
Could think of nothing worse if I'm being honest.
You are now a retiree, so the stage has been set.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to do a sub 4 hour marathon.
That's it. The goal is there. Talk to me about the training required to be match fit for boxing.
It's hard. Really, really difficult.
It's renowned for being one of the toughest sports, like a rigorous routine.
It is, and it's tough. It was 2 sessions a day, Monday to Friday. I used to do one on a Saturday, and then I would have kind of a day and a half off. I would have the rest of Saturday off and Sunday off. But it's just the sparring, it's the road work, it's the track work, weights. I think you have to be physically well enough rounded athlete to be a good boxer. A lot of different types of training you have to do. It can't just be boxing all the time. You know, you need to get strong, so you need to do weight. You need to watch your weight as well. Nutrition's very, very important too. It was tough. It was tough. I mean, I used to get nervous sometimes for some training set, knowing that the session's going to be difficult.
More nervous than fighting?
A lot of times.
Really?
A lot of times. Knowing that
you just know you're about to put your body.
Yeah, you're in the gym with your mates. You're kind of a little bit of messing about. Nothing's ever too serious, but you know you're about to do a killer session. It's literally your lungs are going to be coming out your mouth at the end of it. So that always made me a little bit nervous. The fighting, I was okay. But
what would a typical training day have looked like?
I would normally do some sort of punching, whether it's
Yeah.
sparring or hitting the bags or a pad session. That'll
How
be the
long?
first session, maybe an hour and a half or 2 hours.
That is mad. So you're already 2 hours in, dripping with sweat.
Yeah. So after that, that would be it. That would be your
okay.
session done. So then
Okay,
you'd have a
cool.
rest, you'd
Yep.
have your food, and then you do either sprints or a weight session
Okay,
in
so
the
we're
evening.
on 2 sessions a day.
But that's like 3 hours a day of training.
Yeah.
Doesn't sound that much, you know what I mean? There's
Yeah,
guys working 9 to 5s and hard jobs, you know, labouring or whatever they're doing. It was a hard 3 hours, you know.
Retiring now and looking at that going, oh, it was only 3 hours. And when you're an athlete, life is relatively simple, right? It's get up, train, eat, train,
Yeah.
go to sleep, repeat,
Pretty
maybe a bit
much.
of sponsorship
Yeah.
stuff. And then life on the other side, there's definitely a lot more strands that you have to juggle. Have you found that?
Yeah, I think so. I did have 2 kids while I was boxing in my career and a wife at home. Now I've got 3 kids. And to be honest, I like to be around my family and I like spending time with them. So it was tough for me. My training camps were always away from home. I always just felt it was beneficial for me to have no distractions and fully focus on what I was getting prepared to do, and that is to fight another person. I didn't like it, but I thought it was just to be away from any distractions.
Yeah.
That's the selfish side of boxing, you know what I mean? And the selfish side of sport, really. I used to leave my wife behind with 2 kids and
I can't
like, go on, see you
imagine
later.
how hard that was, because I was in a relationship when I was snowboarding professionally and always away, and any opportunity or window of time, I'd always look to come home,
Yeah.
and you're always longing for that home. But I suppose if you're stuck in a camp environment, there is no just
No, there's
going
not.
home.
Me and another guy called Stevie Ward, who was a boxer from Belfast. The second half of my career, he was around with me a lot, and we shared apartments and stuff and Airbnbs when we were over training. And Stevie was in a similar situation to me, where he had kids and a wife at home and he was away, and we almost counseled each other at times, you know what I mean? And without even realizing we're doing it, just talking about life really, and the kids and what's going on at home. And it was difficult for us both, really was, but the whole plan was to put a sort of 10 years of hard graft in, and hopefully then we can all live a nice life after boxing, you know?
Yeah. Do you ever think, like, wow, boxing has given me this? Because I look at my snowboard career and I'm like, it's insane. I did something I loved for 13 years of my life, and it's created, more so than anything, opportunity, you know,
Yeah.
opportunity to see the world, to
Yeah.
travel. And it's given me such a fresh and different perspective on life. Like, I didn't go to university. I went to school here for
Yeah.
a couple of years,
Yeah.
sort of. But I learned so much throughout my career that now it's given me such a confidence in certain situations to walk into any room and just be me. Like, sport can be the biggest tool and teacher.
Well, no, I agree with that. There are still situations where, I mean, I'd be around some big boxing events. You see a lot of stuff that's going on in Saudi at the minute, and
Yeah.
the stars and A-listers they're having at the fights, and sometimes you're in the same room as these people. Sometimes a wee bit of imposter syndrome kicks in, where
Yeah.
you look at these superstars and you're going, why am I here? You know what I mean? But then someone
That's just your humble
reminds you,
roots.
well,
You
someone
are,
say,
you
well,
are.
you've had a decent career yourself. When you actually think about it, I have. But boxing's given me so many opportunities, and even going back to the amateur days, like,
Yeah.
you're talking about where the places I was touring. I was in places that no one would ever go to. Estonia, Azerbaijan, Latvia, places like
Yeah.
that. Not the place you go on a holiday with
No.
anybody, but I was getting to travel and see the world. And it's something I'm very grateful for.
Talk to me about making weight, because I can imagine that's one of the toughest parts of what you did.
I think it probably is the toughest part.
I
Very
think
difficult.
in society, it's
Yeah.
one of the hardest
That's-
things that anyone talks about, and also everyone can relate to.
Yeah, but getting down to weight for a boxer. So my first weight division was 8 stone 10, so super bantamweight, 8 stone 10 or 122 pounds.
Wow. I mean, like, that's the weight of like a small female.
I know, but I used to walk around. I'm a small man, a small male, but I used to walk around. Probably my walk around weight was 10.5 stone, and I
Yeah.
was reasonably lean at that. You're stripping a lot of water out of your body just to get on the scales. You're obviously getting as lean as possible without losing too much, but you have a full day and a half to recover from the weigh-in time until fight night. So most of the time that was enough for me to recover. There was times where I cut the weight a little bit too much, and a day and a half still wasn't enough, and you're kind of slogging it out for a fight. You don't feel as good or as fresh as you should, but then that's where the kind of mental toughness comes into it, and you just dig it out.
And how would you
ugly.
go about that process of cutting that weight so you are fit to stand on the scales?
So I would try and get in on fight week, I would try and get in maybe 10, 11, 12 pounds over the weight. And I was happy with that. And then gradually you would take it off. But from about 5 days out from the weigh-in, I would go on a diet called a low residue diet, which is just no fiber in your so it was literally boiled eggs and some sort of lean meat, lean beef or lean chicken. That was it 3 times a day. And when I'm talking about tiny portions of this.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of fibrous stuff stuck to your gut, apparently. If you get rid of it, you lose that. And there's meant to be around maybe 1.5 kilos of it in each person. So
by fibrous, what do you mean by that?
any sort of food that's full of no fiber in your diet.
Right, okay.
So where people think fiber helps you go to the toilet, which it does, we're trying to like flush that out of our intestines pretty much to try and help us out a little bit. So you do that. I done a thing called water loading as well, where I overload with water, and I'm drinking like 8 liters of water a day for about 5 days. And then I kind of
8 liters of water, like
so
people
difficult.
Struggle to drink 2.
Yeah, it was extremely difficult to do.
You're not just constantly on the toilet.
Constantly running to the toilet. Very, very hard thing to do. But then you cut it out and you stop. And what it's meant to do is trick your body into thinking you still need to go to the toilet. So you're flushing out all the leftover water and anything else. But you can't have salt while you're doing it. Or the salt holds onto the water, or you can't have any sort of carbs.
No salt. I'd really struggle with that. I love salt.
So do I.
I like literally everything.
This was
boiled
only a week.
Eggs with salt.
This was for about a week I was doing that. So up until that week, it's just eating clean, good, healthy food, plenty of carbs, trying to reduce the fat a wee bit.
Yeah.
But on that fight week, it's literally the worst week of your life.
Oh man, that sounds like absolute punishment.
Yeah, but I think it is sometimes, yeah. I used to struggle to make weight. It wasn't easy for me to do it.
But is there ever been a fighter that's found it easy to make weight?
I think some fighters have found it easier than others. And I think a lot of them fighters are the ones that kind of live the life and have a good lifestyle outside of boxing. And I had an okay lifestyle, but I didn't mind a cream bun or a pint or things like that when I wasn't getting ready for a fight. But when I was starting camp, I was maybe 2 stone, at least 2 stone over the weight I was meant to be fighting at. Some guys would go 3 stone, some guys would even go more than that, and they'd live a worse lifestyle than me. But
because you see some really extreme cases. Is it Paddy the Baddie?
Yeah, Paddy. So
I mean, he seems to sort of like I like yo-yo. I mean, like overnight he can look like a different person.
Mental. Ricky Hatton used to do it as well. Ricky Hatton's what he done in terms of how he ballooned in between fights. It was mental, but it's detrimental to your career and its longevity. And if I was obviously Paddy's still fighting, if I was someone close to Paddy, I imagine there has people have told him this and maybe just doesn't listen. But my advice to him would be not to get so big in between fights.
It also just can't be good for you.
It can't be. So no, it can't be good for you, and I genuinely think it shortens your career.
It sounds like you had it pretty well on tap. Like that sounds like well balanced.
Yeah, I just
the
had
old cream bun. Like
every now and again, I didn't go too mad. You know what I mean? Like I lived like a monk for 12 weeks during a training camp, but 3-4 weeks after a fight, I would enjoy myself.
That's balance. Balance, I think, is one of the hardest things to achieve in life. And now when you flip the switch, you're going from that hardcore environment of having to be a certain weight to retiring. How have you juggled that and maintained some sort of discipline? Because you clearly stayed in shape.
Well, people say that, but actually, I don't train anymore.
You're joking.
I swear to God. I'm a bit softer than I used to be.
Yeah.
But I haven't put on too much weight. I've lost a lot of muscle mass, a little bit soft. My kids laugh at me and stuff when they see me with my top off. I don't have the appetite that I used to.
Really?
Like I do a lot of fasting. A lot of times when I mean to fast, it's like accidental fasting where I wouldn't eat. I would eat my dinner at 7 p.m. and then I wouldn't eat the next day until like 1 or 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
But I'm not purposely doing that. It's just I don't like to eat breakfast and have 1 or 2 meals a day, and I haven't got too fat, but I'm so out of shape at the minute. It's ridiculous.
So are we going to see a comeback?
I need to do something. I really do. But I've been saying that for about 1.5 years now, and I haven't done anything. I'm involved in coaching my little girls' football team.
Nice.
So I kind of
have a little run around.
A little bit of a run around the Tuesday and Thursday night, and that's my excuse for a training session these days.
Are you the kind of person that needs something specific locked in? So say it was a marathon or some sort of physical challenge to actually train?
Absolutely, like no doubt about it. I can't just go and train for the sake of it. I need to have some sort of target or end goal. Up until this point, I haven't found one yet.
Have you ever done hot yoga?
I've done hot yoga, yeah.
Yeah, how did you feel about that?
It was difficult for me. I was when I started to do it, I was already losing my flexibility.
Yeah.
So it was a tough session for me, tougher than it should have been.
Do you think it's important for you moving forward to have something like that, like a goal to sort of hitch onto, to have a movement purpose?
I think so. I've been that busy with everything going on. I'm obviously doing my stuff on the TV from time to time. I've got my little girls' football team helping out. I've got a whiskey on the go. So I don't have a lot of time, but I know in my head I need to do something. But a marathon, although we talked about it, I've never done one. That is something that I know people do. I know marathon runners, and they're trying to get me involved in doing these 10Ks and half marathons or whatever. And I will do it at one point, but just not yet.
You know what I think the nice thing about it is the sense of community and like purpose. For me, I've found that's been huge for me. It sounds like you've got enough plates spinning with everything else.
And that's the thing, just finding the time, because it's really important for me to be at home as well with my wife and kids when I can be, because often my career was spent away from home. Yeah. And I just like to be at home as much as I can.
So it must just be such a luxury now to be back and to have that freedom within your schedule to be there for them. Yeah,
and like I said, it is genuinely, it's a good balance.
How have you found that transition from full-time athlete to having this time to expand and go into TV? Because I've seen some of your punditry and you are such a natural. You speak so well.
Well, thanks very much. I just think I know the game, I know boxing, I know what I'm looking at, and I try to be honest. And I think that's an issue with a lot of pundits in this day and age, where maybe they don't be honest. Maybe they have a fighter who they like or they know, and they don't want to criticize him if they deserve to be criticized. But I've fallen out with guys loads of times, and I never try to dig anyone out. But if you've done something that you shouldn't have done, I'll say it. But equally, if you've done something really well and looked good in your performance, I'm going to say that too. So I just try to be, I'm not a Roy Keane, you know, I'm not trying to create controversy or anything. I just...
Speaking the truth.
I just try and speak the truth.
So along with the TV hustle, which is incredibly strong, we've got the whiskey. Tell me a little bit about the whiskey.
It's called Stablemate Whisky, and it's not something that I've just put my name to. Like, I've been fully involved in it from the start. I came up with the name. Other people designed the logo and stuff, which is very strong. Like, it's a really strongly branded bottle. We are the fastest ever from launch to be on the shelves in Tesco's. We're only in Tesco's NA at the minute, but still the fastest ever to do that.
Hey, that's some claim.
Yeah, of course it is.
That's unreal.
And we've got loads of big ideas. It's a real project for me, and it's something that I enjoy. I enjoy a whiskey, and I think that our product is actually really good, and the feedback's been good too. It's a difficult industry because there's your heritage brands and it's well-established brands. And
they've got like years
of course, years of experience and sometimes centuries.
This is the start of those years, right?
Absolutely. But we know, like, we can't go after the same demographic that Bushmills and Jamesons are gonna. We're going after a different demographic. We want to make whiskey appealing to a younger generation.
I was going to say, because it's kind of like a little bit older.
Yeah,
market,
so it's
right?
You don't drink our whiskey sitting beside a log burning fire in a thatched cottage. Like, you drink our whiskey in the city, and that's what we want it to be. And it's going well.
Nice. Maybe I can find one somewhere tonight in Belfast. What do you reckon?
Yeah, you'll find one in Belfast, definitely. There's plenty of bars stocking it.
That's where I'm going after this.
Worst case scenario, you can go to Tesco's and get one. I'm going to sort you a bottle, Aimee, don't worry.
Okay, boom, you've heard it right here. I'll do your little promo. We'll drop it into the Monday Mile. Bit of a bevy drink in the next episode. Now, when it comes to Belfast and the history and legacy you've created here for boxing, there must be so many young fighters aspiring to follow in your footsteps.
Possibly. I mean, you would have to ask them, but I had it before me. There was a guy called Wayne McCulloch,
Yeah.
who was a world champion. He's from maybe 3 miles from where I'm from originally. Yeah. So he was my inspiration, and he wasn't the biggest name in the world or anything, but he's someone that's from my city, from the same background, winning on the big stage, winning world titles away from home in Japan, where no one does that. He was my inspiration. So if other kids can look at me like I looked at Wayne, then that's okay.
What would you say to any young aspiring fighters looking to follow in your footsteps?
I would say sport's about fun, isn't it? It's about enjoying it. But
that is so the right attitude. You very rarely hear that.
Yeah, it has to be fun. You have to enjoy it. But I would also say, if you want to make a career out of it, you have to be completely in. You can't be half in and half out, and you need to focus on it so much. I got the age where I was about 16. I was actually okay at football. I wasn't a bad football player. I enjoyed football probably more than boxing. Still did enjoy boxing, but I knew that if I was going to make a career out of anything, it was definitely going to be boxing. So I think I made the right choice.
How would you say your routine has flipped now? Like, is it a vast contrast?
Yeah, massively.
Like, uncomparable.
Yeah, no, you can't compare it at all. My previous life as a professional boxer, I was so selfish. Everything was selfish in terms of where you were going and what you were doing, how long you were away.
Were you aware of how selfish it was?
Yeah, I was, and I tried to make it as easy as I could for my wife and my kids as well. But we always had these discussions that this isn't for the long term. You know, I'm going to have a proper crack at this now, and hopefully we can live comfortably for the rest of our lives. And it was very, very difficult at times, but it worked out all right in the end.
That's unreal. Unreal what sport can do for you. We are on the Monday Mile podcast. We like to ask all of our guests what their relationship is like with Monday. Do you like a Monday?
Do I like a Monday? Nah, not really. Who likes a Monday? I mean, it depends what's going on Monday. A bank holiday Monday, maybe, but
that's good, isn't it?
Typical Monday, not particularly.
Not particularly. How do you get through a Monday?
There's not a lot going on for me on a Monday. Every other day is packed with bringing kids to football and stuff, but Monday is kind of the chill out day. So.
Oh, is it? So it's a bit boring?
It's a bit boring. Kids go to school.
Yeah.
I don't do a lot. Christine probably has me doing something monotonous around the house to make up for lost time, and then we go to.
So you're paying your debts?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I'm a bit boring, Aimee, to be honest. Like, most of the time I'm in bed before 10 o'clock.
Oh, that's nice.
Love it. Just feel like an old man now, you know, but I like it.
But you've done a lot in a short space of time.
Yeah, and I enjoy my bed, you know.
Yeah, bed's good. Have you got a good bed?
Got a great bed, yeah.
And lastly, Carl, if there was a life motto or quote that you could leave with our listeners to inspire them to chase their dreams, what would it be?
Surround yourself with, I'm making this up off the cuff now, but almost like surround yourself with good people and people who allow you to chase your dreams. And I done it, but I keep going back and keep referring to my old coach, Billy McKee, but he was someone who seen that I was talented and could do something. And he kind of invested in me, and I invested in myself. But his belief, I think, helped me a lot, helped me to get to where I was. So surround yourself with good people. And I think if you have it in your head and you work hard enough, you can do whatever you want.
It's so true. Anything's possible. Carl Frampton, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Aimee.
At your hometown, one of your first fight venues behind me.
Yeah.
Monday Mile listeners, it is a wrap. I really, really hope you enjoyed that one. You know what to do. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we drop every single Monday morning for the early risers. That's 12 a.m. So plug in, tune in, listen, and walk with us. Have an absolutely wicked week.